Hello, everyone, to a very special presentation. We're joined by none other than Brian Charles Lara, my favorite batsman growing up as in my cricket watching days, but I promise that won't come in the way of a meaningful conversation. Brian, of course, a lot of you may be following very regularly every evening on Start the Studio doing commentary from the dugout. Brian, warm welcome. Been like more than a month now. A lot of fun along the way in IPL, living in my bubble, traveling to the studios every day in the evening, having fun, which we get a sense of from a distance. How's it been so far?
It's been good. I mean, there are positives and of course negatives. The fact that Mumbai in India is one of my favorite spots. So going to restaurants and meeting friends and playing golf, these things that which are denied at the moment, of course, is not great. But the positives are, the distractions aren't there. So you have an opportunity now to concentrate on work and more work. Another positive is the fact that in a normal scenario, majority of the staff that you work with or fellow commentators and talent, you would hardly get to see them on a normal basis. You'd see them at the office. But then everybody who's living in Mumbai or who is traveling back to their Hyderabad or Chennai for a couple of days, they will do that. So for me, it's more of a family environment. You get to know people more. You spend more time with them, and that has been excellent. But 6 to 8 weeks is it's a lot of time, and I've had a wonderful time. But I do look forward to the finals on Tuesday the 10th, and freeing up a bit and doing a little bit of the stuff that I like doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for all of us. It would be tougher for the players, perhaps. But the good thing is we're having some cricket. Rand, there's been obviously with the evolution of T20, which a lot of people thought it was slam bang action. It's evolved over the years, hasn't it? And we see a lot of. Give us a sense of the kind of work that you do in the studios, the technology that we have, the stats that we so heavily rely upon now to understand T20 better.
Yeah. First of all, I must say I was part of the guilty party when T20 came out and say, what is this? It's not much skill. Everybody's sort of just swinging at the hips and just going for it. But now, it's IPL is now 13 years old, and you're now seeing the intricacies of it. How important it is tactically, how important it is to have certain players in your team, seeing a leg spinner dominate like Rashid Khan, seeing Chahal, seeing the pace of Bumrah and Archer, and how everything is coming together now. It's a wonderful game. It's not as simple. It's not as carnival like that. We first thought it was, and of course IPL tied itself to Bollywood itself. So it gave that razzmatazz. But now it's a serious game, and you see players that are playing in the IPL going on to play for their country because of good performances here. So it's no longer that sort of as I said, carnival. It's a serious business. And I've enjoyed calling the game, and I've enjoyed working with the fellow commentators in the dugout, the likes of Scott Skyris and Brett Lee, Swanee, Corky, in terms of putting together an understanding. I understand a little bit more about bowling, looking at Brett Lee do his demonstration, or even Scott Skyris, who is an all-rounder, and he understands both sides of the game very well. So learning from these guys and seeing those demonstrations has been exceptional.
And one of our great friends, Dean Jones, unfortunately passed away during the course of this IPL. So it's good of you to sort of have this demo zone named after him. One of the things that you do in that demo zone, of course, is look at field placement more closely. You've sort of called this IPL through the past month. Anything that has stood out for you? Any standout fielding moves, or any captaincy moves? Anything that struck you?
Yeah, there are many things. I mean, the Dino demo zone is, it's amazing. Sort of testimony to the contribution that he's made, not just as a cricketer, but as a mentor, as somebody who's worked in commentary, he's worked as a coach. So Dino has been a tremendous and huge and integral part of Star and what they do with the game of cricket. So I am pretty impressed when I'm in the room, because you see demonstrations, you see moves by captains that are exceptional. And one of the things that funnily that I liked, I always wonder, KKR, when they kept Sunil Ryan to bowl after the first 10 overs. And then he won them those 2 games that, you know, they were literally about to lose. You know, bowling very tightly in the last 10 overs. He bowled his 4 overs. I thought that was exceptional. I still trying to wrap my head around how fast bowlers bowl to, say, for instance, a left or right-hander with no third man, and they still bowl the ball outside the all-stump. And back in my day, you know, you'd get a guy who would guide that ball through that gap every single time. Now, occasionally it happens. You've seen maybe a Shikhar Dhawan do it, or Sanju Samson open their face of their bats. So what I see there is that a lot of batsmen nowadays are concentrating on hitting the ball with the full face of their bat in front of them, and they have such beautiful bats now that they power the ball through mid-wicket. So captains are now asking them, okay, show us your finer skills of, you know, working the ball backward of the wicket. And yeah, that also is something that I've recognized on the screen, that I think, well, you know, if I was playing then, if I'll be playing now, I'll be peppering those areas. You know, I'll be wanting to go through backward point and work the ball. So it's been some great demonstrations. The continued use of the reverse sweep and the slug sweep and the ramp and all these young players, you know. A negative would be, not a negative in terms of the dugout, a negative in terms of batsmen nowadays, is that technique, not a lot of reliance on technique, because you're playing the shorter version of the game. You want to just use your hands and you just want to bang the ball. So a wonderful player like Shubman Gill, I'm seeing some technical flaws coming in, and I don't think it's just a natural progression of playing the 20-over game and wanting to spank the ball. And, you know, but then you see a guy like KL Rahul, who has kept his technique, and you can't tell if he's playing a test match of 50 overs or T20 when he's batting. He's so well polished, it's unreal.
Yet each one of them, Brian, is always under this constant pressure of the state of the match, the strike rate, and all of those factors. You see a constant struggle in some of these all-format batsmen sort of coming to terms with this format. I mean, I spoke with Virat a few years back, said, you know, this is my game. And I'm an all-format batsman, so I cannot, you know, sort of mold it beyond the point. Otherwise, it might go on in a fitness test cricket. Is that something that you sort of sense as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I think he's definitely right. Virat Kohli plays across all formats, and he's successful across all formats. Now you have guys that are playing and starting off in this very, very big league. This is a big stage, and they haven't played, you know, the longer version is test matches or anything like that. So their game is now geared towards this format, while Virat Kohli cannot afford to, you know, sort of change his style. He's got a style, he's just going to enhance it. He knows at some point, in some games, he's got to score quicker than others. But he's kept the same thing, same as KL Rahul. So that's my little bit of a worry, the fact that the guys are playing so much of this T20 game. You know, I know there's a Ranji Trophy and, you know, 4-day cricket, but just don't lose the fundamentals of the game. And I remember when I started, I played 3- and 4-day games much more. And the one thing that helped me be a more aggressive player is that before I played my second test match, I played 25 one-days. And I didn't know how to hit a 6. But by the time I got through 5, 10 one-days, I knew I had to learn to hit a 6. I knew I had to find the gaps. I knew I had to score quickly. And that sort of transferred into my test cricket. And it made me a test cricketer that could find the gaps, more aggressive, more attacking, more, you know, exciting to watch. So I used my foundation of playing 3- 4-day cricket. Then I used the experience of having 1-day cricket, and I employed that into my test cricket. And I think that was the right way of doing it. So my only concerns, getting back to the main point, is that these beautiful young players try to keep the fundamentals, try to keep the foundation work of good technique in their play, even though they're playing T20 and they're playing in the biggest league in the world.
So someone as conventional as Shubman Gill, for example, open batting for this team, is there an option that someone like a Virat Kohli can perhaps explore as well? So utilize that opening power play and try and raise the ante a little bit. If he's still there, then obviously will master the middle.
Yeah, of course, Virat Kohli can open. That will be the best spot for him to bat. No doubt about it. Is it the best spot for the team? if there is a downside to it. Maybe not. We've seen in the past where Sachin Tendulkar opened nearly all, most of his career for India in the 50-over version of the game. It's great for the individual, but you've also got to understand what the downside is. So trying to find a good opening pair for RCB, I think is more important than Virat Kohli opening the batting. I think there's an over-reliance on Virat Kohli and de Villiers. And you may well say, well, why don't those two guys go open then? Because I believe that if both of them open, one will come out with a lot of runs, and then you'll get what you want. Batting at number 3 and number 4, the game has somewhat taken shape already. So sometimes you see de Villiers come out and he has to play a certain way because the game has already taken shape, and it calls for this sort of play. But get 2 match winners up front, and don't be too reliant on a Virat Kohli and a de Villiers, and you're going to have a winning team. No 2 players can win your tournament. You need a good bowling attack. You need a good middle order and good openers. You look at Mumbai Indians, Ishan Kishan and Quinton de Kock, or Rohit Sharma and Quinton de Kock. If you cause trouble there, you got to run into Surya Kumar Yadav. If you get him out, you got to run into Hardik Pandya and Pollard. So there's a storyline from opening right through the batting order. As an opposing captain, you have to be, you'll be so stressed knowing that every single stage they have an answer for you. With an RCB, you still feel, well, as soon as we get to these 2 big boys, if you get rid of them, we win the match.
Yeah, and the Mumbai Indians, and there is a Pollard to follow, and the Pandya brothers as well. So, that brings me to the point of the power hitters. I mean, you guys call up big overs quite a lot, and obviously a lot of those big overs comes towards the end. I know that you don't sort of count them too much, but it's incredible amount of scoring rate. I mean, it's about more than 10 runs per over that come in those final 5, and the scoring rate in the opening part and the middle overs less than 8. Does that surprise you that sort of teams prefer to keep this match so deep rather than maximizing the field restriction?
Looking at the IPL, there's been a sort of an average score in the first 6 overs. If you've done poorly, you're under 40. If you've done okay, you're between 40 and 50. And the ones that have done exceptionally well is 50 and above. That has been the trend. And the middle overs, I think, depending on the bowling attack, and the batsman out there, if a left-arm spinner is bowling and a left-handed batsman is batting, you would see a lot more scoring. In a Virat Kohli and a de Villiers situation, if Rashid Khan is bowling, that there's going to be a slow period in the game because they're going to try to keep him out. So it all depends on the opposing team. And, if you're facing Bumrah and, another good death bowler from Mumbai Indians, you'd want to score more in the middle. You'd want to score maybe more up front because these guys are wicket takers down at the end. So as someone looking from the outside, I think you have to be very flexible as a captain or a team, depending on the opposition that you're playing. When are you going to maximize your opportunities? And there is even greater need to understand there's great value in having wickets in hand. When you start losing wickets and players have to be still attacking, you lose more wickets. So you see if teams get to a decent total and in the 14th over and they only lost 2 wickets, they can go hard. But if they get 20 more runs, but they're 7 down, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. So again, flexibility is the most important thing in any form of the game.
And you've seen Pollard and Russell over the years. I mean, what's the secret behind their success, you think? I mean, it can't just be their sheer power, right? I mean, do they stay low? Do they get under the ball so much better? Because we see so many Yorkers sort of going for 6s as well on big ground.
Well, first of all, these guys do a lot of practicing. They practice power hitting. That's a session. That was not a session 30 years ago. There was no session of power hitting. You would have your VIRAT or Clive Lloyd or whoever in whatever team. Gus Logie wouldn't be practicing power hitting. He'd be looking to work the ball. Michael Bevan, you must remember that name. He was a nudger and he would score the run and ball.
Yeah.
So nowadays you look at the Pollards and Hardik Pandya and Andrew Russell, even a Sunil Narayan, when these guys go into practice, they spend a certain amount of time power hitting. They go in there and they lose 15, 20 cricket balls over into the road and never to be seen again. So that is a practice session. So it's not surprising. It's not surprising. The bats are good. The minute you can do 100-meter six or 110-meter six, from that day onwards, you're going to be confident that you can cross every single boundary. I remember when I hit my first six in international cricket, one-day cricket. From that point onwards, I knew how to hit a six. So you never lose that confidence. So you look at Pollard, and the guys on the boundaries make no sense to them. Don't worry about that. The guys at deep mid-on and mid-off, as long as these guys middle the ball, they know they're not in play. If they mistime it, they get out. So it's that belief and confidence in your ability to play those big shots.
And the likes of Bumrah and Archer, who stem the flow of runs. I mean, do you marvel at their skills? Because, when people are going at 10 and over, they manage to keep the batsmen. I mean, their death rate, death over scoring economy rate is less than 7. I mean, both of these.
I can only say one thing. Those two guys would stand up in any era of cricket. Any era of cricket. The two names that you've mentioned, they were playing between 2000 and 2010, their names will be high up there. If they were playing in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, they will be up there. And I'm not criticizing or belittling anybody in the past, but Jeffrey Archer and Bumrah would be in the top echelon of fast bowlers in any era that I watched, I played in, or I'm still watching.
That's high praise. I mean, we all get excited about Bumrah. You would have fancied the challenge of facing someone like a Jasprit Bumrah in your prime?
I think I enjoyed Kapil Dev and Srinath and those guys. Manish Prabhakar, and they're a little bit more than I've enjoyed facing Jasprit Bumrah. But the challenge would have been exceptional. And back in my days, you had a guy like Makaya and Tini who had that same sort of angle with the ball. So there is some comparisons to the people I've played against that I know that I would not have backed away from the challenge. I would have relished that challenge to answer your question.
And there's an equal challenge for some of these bowlers like batsmen, right, to sort of switch to red ball cricket, which is going to be one of the challenges that some of these Indian bowlers will face. They'll cope with it all right, the likes of a SHAMI and Bumrah will suddenly be given the red hook problem, and they'll have to try and get the Australians out.
Yeah, and similar to the batsmen, that's why I'm in love with the batting of KL Rahul. And I'm in love with the batting of Virat Kohli because they can bat in any forms of the game. And the two names that you call, why they're so successful in the IPL and T20 is because they bowl test match lengths, they bowl test match deliveries. You don't see them overdoing the slow ball. You see them looking to hit the seam, looking to hit the stumps, looking to hit the batsman edge, getting a short, sharp, fast short ball, and batsmen, getting into trouble. So moving from the IPL now to cricket that they have to play coming up in Australia, it'll be a very easy task for them.
Final couple of questions, Brian. Would you like to pick the few young Indian batsmen that have impressed you through this league, and why would you pick them?
Sanju Samson, I think I love the way he bats, but I love his ability. I'm not sure if I like the way he bats all the time, but I love his ability. He's got tremendous ability, tremendous timing, an unbelievable player in terms of, what his potential, his range is, the heights that he can reach. Definitely. Suryakumar Yadav has become one of my favorites. Batting at number 3 in Mumbai team behind Quinton de Kock and Rohit Sharma. A number 3 spot for me is a very important position in any batting team. If your best player is not an opener, your best player has to be number 3. And he is definitely their best player. In terms of Rohit Sharma being out of form, being injured, Suryakumar Yadav has become Mumbai Indians' best batsman, batting in the right position, repair damage if an early wicket is gone, or continue an onslaught if he has to. And I've enjoyed watching him play this IPL. It's been really special. I can't say more about KL Rahul. I think everybody knows my view on what I think of him. He's just an exceptionally good player. Priyam Gag, I think, you know, has a lot of potential. Padikkal has a lot of potential. I would like to see a few things change. I would like to see, you know, I mean, ultimately, when I see a batsman, I don't only want to see him play IPL or T20. I want to see him play Test cricket as well. So Padikkal for me will have to work a lot on his technique to survive in Test cricket. You know, when there's 3 slips in a gully and there's a man waiting on the hook shot and there's a bat pad, he will have to do a few little maybe he has it. I mean, I'm not judging anything. Maybe he's playing his T20 version of the game and he has a longer version of the game. I don't know, but I'm just saying from what I'm seeing. But he's someone who is, I think, that's got the ability to go all the way as well.
Right. My final question to you: you would want to pick the favorites to win the title at this? Yeah, you want to add something? Sorry.
I don't want to leave out his name. I know he didn't get much of an opportunity, but just the small little glimpses I saw, I think Samad is also very good.
Abdul Samad. All right. Brian, your picks to win the title at this stage, we know who are the 4 teams in the playoffs. Some would imagine Mumbai and Delhi an advantage. They get 2 cracks at the final. Your pick?
Can I not pick my pick for the final? Can I just say for the 2 teams for the finals?
All right.
I think Mumbai Indians are going to be in the finals from the first crack. I think they will get there winning this semi-final. But I have a funny feeling that Sunrisers Hyderabad is going to win their 2 qualifiers to get in there. I think that they've got the right momentum. I think Delhi's got an awesome team, but you know, you sense that they're prone to that sort of performance that I saw before their last win, where, you know, their confidence is a bit low, and of course they would have gained a lot playing against Royal Challengers in their last game where they won comfortably. RCB, I think that it's a great team and they could go on to win the tournament, but as you and I know, if they win the tournament, out of the 3 matches that they have to play, you would think that Virat Kohli would have to pick up 2 centuries, or De Villiers would have to score a century, or big 80 or big 90. You feel that those 2 guys have to play a big part. With the teams Mumbai Indians and SRH, you feel that there's a lot of talent in there, that any of 7, 8 players could be the match winner. Rashid Khan, Jason Holder, Warner, Williamson, Ridwan Saha, and then in the Mumbai Indians team, I don't need to call the names. They've just got a gun team, and nearly all 11 players are match winners.
Great. Lovely chatting with you, Brian. Keep enjoying your commentary from the dugout. So will we. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.